As we've learned in previous lessons, an analyst is an individual who simplifies complexity by refining data into actionable information that facilitates decision-making through insights. Well, in order to do that, there needs to be a presentation of those insights, and that'll help facilitate the decision-making. We often think of data presentation in the context of charts and graphs and other data visualizations. But at times, the data itself can often be the medium of presentation for the analysis. The way this is often done is by showcasing trended data. There are very good ways to do this, and there are also several very bad ways to do this. Well, let's learn how to do this well. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to freeze panes, set the print area, and also set print titles. Let's start with freezing panes. So what I have here is a trended store sales data. So on the left-hand side here in column B, I have a bunch of store names, and they're through store 1 through 100. And then I have sales data ranging from the month of January 2015 all the way through May 2017. So as you can see, when I'm scrolling from left to right here, or jumping between the top and bottom of this data set using my control and then the arrow keys to move across the data set, there's a bunch of data here. So in order to be able to see all of this, I have to scroll all the way to the right here. But if I come here to May 17, this 141,000 here, I don't know. I mean, I can intuitively guess that this is store number 1, but if I go a little bit further down, I don't know what number store this is here that did 172,000 in May sales. I don't know what that is. I have to scroll all the way over here, and then I see, okay, fine, in column B, it's store 32, but that's not very easy to do that. If I'm working in this data set, and if I've emailed it to somebody, and they're working in it, and they want to see what store did what in each month, they don't want to have to just go here and then maybe scroll all the way back to the left to see which store has done what. So one way that we can do this is to freeze the panes here to make scrolling a little bit easier. So what I'm going to do is highlight, in this case, I'm going to highlight column C. Okay, so that's important. This is to the right of the pane that I want to freeze. So in this case, I want to freeze column B so it's easier for the individual working in this spreadsheet to see which store is associated with which sales for that month. So I'm going to come up to View on the View menu here, and I'm going to come down to Freeze Panes, and I'm going to click on Freeze Panes. And what that is going to do, you can see here when I move to the right, is my store is now frozen. That column for the store is frozen, and I can easily see which store is doing what. So I now know that this 777,000 is for store 97. But I do have one problem, right? I don't know what month I'm in now. Okay, so I've solved one problem, but I haven't solved the other of which month. So here's what we can do. So Excel's made this really simple. All I need to do is come up here and select the cell between the two items that I want to freeze. So in this case, I want to freeze row 8, and I want to freeze column B, so my cross section of that would be cell reference C9. So all I need to do then is come up here and click on Freeze Panes again, and click the Freeze Panes button, and now you'll see that when I scroll down, my row of month stays intact, and if I move to the right, you can see that my store is also intact. So I can go down, all the way down, and it makes things a little bit easier to work with. Okay, so we've made this data easier to work with inside of Excel by freezing the store column as well as the month row. So anybody who's working with this inside of Excel can have an easier time using the data as well as moving around inside of the data set. But what happens if somebody wants this on a printed page? So they want a hard copy of this analysis. Well, we need to do a couple things to facilitate a better visualization of this as well as ease of use, so we can help facilitate decision making. Well, let me start by showing you if we just printed this right now as it stands what it would look like. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to hold down the control button, I'm going to hit P for print. And then this brings up the print dialog. You can see that this isn't very useful to us. We have only 5 months of data showing here, so not very much, as well as 39 stores, and these margins are very, very wide here, and there's really a very limited amount of data on this sheet, and it's not very useful for anybody. You can also see that we've got 18 pages of data here that are going to print if we hit print. So if I go to the next page, this is just a bunch of data on a piece of paper. This doesn't really mean much, and it only gets a little bit worse as we move forward. So this is not helpful to anybody here. What we need to do is make sure that when we print this, we're both, one, not wasting paper, and two, making sure that we can facilitate decision making for those individuals that are using this analysis. Right now we're not doing either. So let me get back to the data set by hitting the escape button, and then I'm going to come up here to cell B1, and I'm going to hold down the shift button and move to the right using my using the right arrow key. From there I'm going to hold down the control button while still holding shift, and I'm going to scroll down using the down arrow key until I get to the bottom on row 109 to the total line, and I'm going to let go of the control button. So now I've selected this area. So this is my data set in totality. I'm going to come up here to the page layout menu and click on the print area button and select or set the print area. Okay, now Excel knows that this is the area that I want to print. Okay, great. So let's go back to the print dialog by holding down control and hitting P. Well, nothing's changed. Why? Well, Excel has done part of the job for us. It said, okay, I know that you want to print this, but how do you want to print it? So that's where these items here on the left-hand side come into play. So I'm going to set this up the way that I think that this analysis should be set up for printing. The first thing I'm going to do is change this to landscape. This changes the orientation a bit and makes it a little bit more easier to read on the page. Next, in order to continue to do that, I'm going to change this to legal. This just makes the paper bigger. Now, you may not want to print this on legal if you don't have legal paper in your office or you don't have access to that. But I'm just setting up here, just for illustrative purposes, how I would do it if I had access to legal paper and that sort of thing. Next, I am a fan of narrow margins. So I believe that this is a little bit wide here, sort of a waste of space in a way. So what I'm going to do is change this to narrow, and you'll see the difference here as soon as I hit it. Okay, so that my margins are a little bit tighter here, and I think that that just looks better overall. Next, I've got to click on the scaling. So you can see here, scaling helps bring the data all on one page, or the columns all on one page, or the rows all on one page. So right now you can see we have January 2015 through September 2015 showing here. But if you recall from the data set, let me just go back there, we have data all the way through May 2017. So we want to be able to show most of that data, if not all of it, when we print this. So I'm going to go back to the print dialog by Control P, and I'm going to set this first to show you what it looks like if I fit sheet on one page. Okay, well, you can see that our print area definitely is now coming to light, but this again is not very useful. This is too much information. You're going to need a magnifying glass in order to get the insights out of this analysis. There's really nothing here that is useful to somebody. So let's try something else. Let's go down here and go to fit all rows on one sheet. Well, nothing changed. Okay, why? Well, most of our data here is sitting in all of these rows. So Excel is bringing in all these 100 stores, and it's trying to put it on the page in the best way it knows how. And the way it did that is by basically just putting everything on one page. Because it said, okay, you want all these rows? Well, this is the only way I know how to do it. So the only option we really have is to fit all columns on one page. And when I click that, you'll see what happens. Okay, so this is much better. Now we have all of our months and the majority of our stores all the way down. So you can see here I've got January 2015 and May, all the way through May 2017. So all of my data is here, and if I scroll to the next page, you'll see that all my data is here as well. But there's one problem. If I look here, I don't know which months these stores sales are associated with. I mean, I could guess, or I could look at the previous page to see, but that's not very helpful. So we need to fix that. So now that we've got this set, I'm going to hit the escape button again. And what I'm going to do is come up here to print titles. You'll see that our print area is set here. We can see it B1 through AB109. And I'm going to come down here to the rows to repeat at top. And there's this little up arrow here that I'm going to click on. What I want to do is select rows 1 through 8. And the way I did that is I clicked my mouse on row 1 and I scrolled down all the way to row 8. You can do the same thing with your mouse and the shift arrow key by holding down the shift arrow key and then using the down arrow key to select the same area. You'll see here now I'm selecting row 1 through 8. So why did I choose row 1 through 8? Well, I think having the logo is a nice touch. I want the title of the analysis, and I want all the information like the store header and the month headers on every single page that I print. So let me get back to the dialog by clicking on the down arrow here, and I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to open up my print dialog, and you'll see that the first page didn't change. Nothing changed here. It's where on the second page here where the magic happens. Alright, cool. You see I've got the logo, I've got the title of the analysis, and I've got the store and the month data and row headers, and then as well as the sales data here. So we've done the print area, we've set that, and we've also made sure that all of our print titles as well as the logo and the title of the analysis are all set. So we've got this data set ready to print, and it's in a format that can be used to facilitate decision making.